it's warming up. Yeah, it's starting to warm up. It's a grisly 26 degrees.
Wow, wow.
So it's been 23, so it'll probably be about 29 in about an hour's time.
Look, I've been following the weather over there quite closely. Some parts have been up around low to mid 40s, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you ever want to find your pet, just go out on the road. He's stuck to it.
It's quite warm. That's warm, yeah. There's been a lot of days in South Australia where it's been 40, 41, 45.
Well,
yeah, you wouldn't want to be. But I heard it was Christchurch was 41 last week.
Yeah, that wouldn't be so. It would be about right, actually. Down through the Canterbury Plains.
The plains, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, because I did an interview last week for Horizons.
Oh, okay, okay.
And they said it was pretty warm down there, so...
Yeah, I tell you what, we just celebrated Auckland Day up here. It was a long weekend for us. And you could see cars literally stuck in the tarmac because the roads were that bloody hot and that much traffic. It was just, yeah, it was slushy. Yeah, it was getting weird. It really was, which is unusual for us. Nursery Rhymes Blues is playing.
Hi
at the moment.
everyone on Facebook Live.
And Barbara's doing her thing, so we'll come live to the desk very shortly. But I gotta let you know we've got quite a few people online right now. We're pushing up around about 9 million people.
My goodness.
Worldwide.
You've obviously got a world audience there because isn't there only like 4 million population?
Oh yeah, look,
4.5.
I would love to own all of New Zealand. I really would, but 63 different countries are tuned in right now. And
oh, wow.
I will give you an accurate actually because I haven't got my headphones on. We have 9 million and is that 85, 65?
65.
Ah, yeah. 9,065,000 online right now. And for those of you that look at that and say, that can't be right, it's only 9,000, it's actually, we've taken off the zeros. It just goes across the screen. It's ridiculous. It really is. So, and believe me, Isaiah, there's a friend of mine who's doing quite well in Auckland at the moment, a blues player by the name of Cars Gordox. And he's
you might know him.
He's going to be following us today. Otherwise known as Cara Gordon. Believe me, I've known him since he was about 13 years of age. He first started with his brother as a roadie for me, but he was useless because he would never put his guitar down. So we decided to put him on stage rather than use him as a roadie.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Sense.
So he's very keen on hooking in and having a look this morning. I wonder if he's actually there right now. Who is on there?
Oh, we've got Robert DeLuca, Jimmy Kincaid, Trisha Richardson, Brian Bailey, Cheryl Arnold at the moment.
Right.
Hi everyone.
Welcome along, guys.
Yeah.
Let me know, by the way, if that manager for coming out of Germany comes on. We'd love to be able to give her a shout out.
And everyone, here's the man, Isaiah B Brunt.
Isaiah Brunt. Okay.
He's from Sydney, Australia.
So, where are you right now? You look like you're in a classroom.
Well, this is my little rehearsal room. I've got, can you see some of the gear down here?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, that's not a bad little PA you got there.
Like the office, you know, and everything. So, just I'll give you a little, and then we have we've got all the instruments, and then we have some more instruments over here.
Nice.
Awesome.
Now, I've known about you for a little while now, Isaiah. A friend of mine who happens to be a colleague radio announcer over in Australia by the name of Ray Reid was talking to me. He used to work for us about 4 years ago, and he also told me about Bruce Aiken back then. And we've been following you pretty closely ever since. So it's an absolute pleasure to have you with us. It really is.
Thank you for having us, Grant. Yeah, appreciate it.
Now, we're going to go live. Let's have some fun.
We're live on Facebook, but we're going to broadcast.
I'll just put that back to where it was. It is. That's right, you're right here at Galaxy 107 FM. It is 10 after 11 o'clock, 31 degrees downtown. Heading, well, you know, our high was 27. We've surpassed that, but I kind of feel 35 is quite reasonable today. Absolutely stifling hot. Tuesday, January 29th, and I am so elated because just playing Isaiah B Brunt and the Isaiah B Brunt Trio, Nursery Rhymes Blues, and joining us coming out of Australia, absolutely out of Sydney, Australia, that is the man himself, Isaiah B Brunt. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Grant. How are you?
Look, it is an absolute pleasure to talk to you. I really, really am quite elated about this because, A, we don't get a lot of blues here at Galaxy, so, and I'm a huge blues fan. I really, really am. Also, at the same time, I know your history as an engineer, and I've been an engineer now for about 35 plus years, so I think we have something in common. Now, I've listened to your music, and really, I just can't fault it. I really, really can't. Love the way the work has turned out. Now, I want you to talk to me about Nursery Rhymes Blues. Where did you come up with the lyrics of that?
Well, it's the blues side of Nursery Rhyme stories, really. You know, the Grimm brothers, the Brothers Grimm, who the stories come from. Apparently, behind the stories is the blues side of what it's all about. Like Little Red Riding Hood, you know, is told not to go into the woods. There's a wolf out there, and some of these stories are folklore to keep the children from running out of sight of, you know, the parents, which are all, you know, all mythical boundaries that you know. So I just decided to put the dark side of the story together. So you have, you know, one of the lyric lines goes, "Sleeping Beauty woke up one day, and her knight in shining armour had remarried again." You know, when little interjections of, you know, that's what really happened, kind of thing. But my perspective is from the blues side, if you know what I mean. Because you know, I always used to think of those nursery rhymes and go, you know, they must imagine what else was involved with the story.
Exactly.
So it's my version.
I fully understand, and there really is always a backstory to every little fable and myth that's put into the Grimm brothers and all of their nursery rhymes. I was actually talking about myths and everything like that. Quite surprised to find out that King Richard and Camelot and the Round Table is actually a story. It's a myth. It never happened.
Well, apparently it never happened, but there seems to be a lot of interesting discussion about, lost timelines, and history is always being dug up every day. As you know, watching things unfold with the better technologies that we have going forward, who knows? You might get dug up one day, Grant, and they go, well, this is what Grant did, and
I feel sorry for anybody that would want to dig me up. I really, really do. But I tell you what, I'll certainly get a few CDs and everything packed away with me. There might be treasure in the future, maybe a couple of 100 years, even a CD player, just so that they can try and figure out how to use it. At the moment, though, I got to admit, with technology, if you want to talk about technology, these days we've moved away from records and CDs. Now it's all downloads and stuff like that. I have artists that give me little cards, would you believe, and say, here, this is a download. The problem with that is I can't put that in my CD player in my car.
That's right. Well, in the future, I started in the studio with reel-to-reels. You would have seen that when you were coming through, tape machines.
Yeah, look, I go back to DAT machines. I also go back to the cart machine in radio, if you remember, much like the old 8-tracks. You know what I mean? So I'm an old tooth at that, I got to be honest with you, even though we were playing records as well, of all things, and we really were back in the day. It was crazy. These days, computers make it so much easier, don't they?
They do, and you can actually get connected like we are today with a larger market or audience. And I found that when I was in the studio days, you had to be connected to a record label, and otherwise you didn't get, exposure outside your let's say your own city, your hometown. Nowadays, I'm part of a community that's independent, and we're the biggest community of music worldwide, the independent scene.
You're quite right.
And that's because it's...
You are quite right. The indie market is absolutely huge globally. It really, really is. And there is absolutely so much untapped talent out there. I got to be honest with you, we do mix and mingle with still a few record companies, and I mentioned, of course, Bristol Records coming out of Nashville and Canada. These guys are absolutely stunning, they really, really are, and work tirelessly for their artists, I've got to admit that. But you don't hear of record companies, not like the old RCAs, the EMIs, the Festival Records, and all of those guys from back in the day. These days, it's all Telecom and Vodafone that's doing it, and the poor artists are getting, what, 0.000% every time somebody hooks into them. Is it profitable being an indie artist, having your music put out on that way?
Look, when I first put out Just the Way That It Goes, and it got the sort of play and attention that it got, if I had been with a record company back in the 80s or the 90s, I would have got a fair sway of income from that. But because, the way it works with Spotify, and I think my music goes out on Amazon, iTunes and everything, the licenses weren't, they were never agreed to by musicians. Those have been put together by regulations, and I don't know if you recognise that in America, I was in Chicago a couple of years ago talking to one of the guys who's producing my next album, and he was saying there's going to be some big news coming up, which happened at the end of last year when America announced everything about the recording royalties and the phonographic rights. And so this is going to affect, I think it kicks in this year, this is going to affect us as musicians to claw back some of the entitlements that we miss out on through the old laws.
Absolutely, and I do believe, it is hard for every musician. Believe me, not every musician is making money, and it is so hard for them to be able to make a few dollars for the hard work that musicians put into it. And believe me, I'm a big supporter of our artists all around the world making some money out of their trade. I mean, plumbers wouldn't go and plumb a house for nothing, or a 0.000 of a cent. Electricians wouldn't do it, and painters, all that sort of thing. So what makes a musician vulnerable? Well, I kind of feel it's the telecommunications companies that are taking all the credit for all the supplying of the material that's going out there on the internet, but they've forgotten the most important thing, which is the artists themselves. Without the artists, they wouldn't be making money either, really, would they?
Well, yeah, that's absolutely 100% right. When we were talking about technologies before technologies, and this is why I tour and do live gigs, because you know that's where you do pick up a lot of your income and revenue on a yearly basis. So before they had the phonographic live recording or the acetate, which brought you the first early recordings, you had to see a band. Bands were live, so that was it,
Exactly.
Other than playing in balconies and that in a lounge room, which we call them house concerts now. You had to go and see an act, and that's part of what we do as musicians. And look, I love what I do, and I couldn't think of anything else. So regardless of the challenges that are in front of us, you've got to love the music to be able to keep doing it no matter what.
Absolutely. Now, I want to talk to you about your tours that you're going to be doing here March and April, but we'll get to that very, very shortly, because it's very, very in-depth, and you're doing maybe about 23 shows throughout New Zealand, which I congratulate you for. It is always good to be able to see an artist of your calibre here in New Zealand performing in front of New Zealand audiences. But first of all, I've got to ask you, see, we're on the technology side of it right now. Are you on Facebook? Are you on Twitter? And are you on Instagram? And when fans get hold of you, do you reply?
I try to address every inquiry or query that I get, and on my website page, or my page of isaiahbbrunt.com, there is a contact email there, so I always see those come up. I've gotten onto festivals through that, because people have looked me up and wanted to invite me to different festivals. So that's a good thing.
Exactly.
Facebook, I'm on music, Isaiah B Brunt music as well, and Twitter. I used to be a big Twitter fan. It's I find I just post technology ideas.
I get it, but you see, that's today's database of your fan base, really, isn't it? On these multimedias that are available around the world to everybody now. But at the same time, you did mention a website there. How would you like to give us a shout out for your website? But more importantly, do you have a merch store on there?
I do. It goes directly to the independent company called CD Baby, and they distribute my music worldwide.
Nice.
So they put it through all the Amazon, iTunes, Google, YouTube. Every single one that's available, because it's they're like a small label. If you can remember the days where someone would open a small label and be more of a distributor rather than, the big financing gurus of the main record companies, that's what they do. And it's everything nowadays is, for a blues musician, I would recommend that's where you pretty much have to start to do what you need to do. And then there are other factors that come into place. So I have a PR agent in the US, so to get into those streams of recognition, you always have to keep pushing, as you know, Brunt.
Absolutely, you really, really do. Now, I want to talk to you about Whispers in My Head. Tell me all about it.
Well, I'll tell you what people say when I announce that song live. It's normally, some sort of funny pun like, you've got a crazy voice, you can hear voices, and things like that. It's actually about a family member that has bipolar. So it's actually a real experience of dealing with someone who has come across that. So it talks about it in the way of the third person, kind of.
I fully understand that. I'm not bipolar myself, but I do have whispers in my head. I got a production manager that's talking to me all the time, so I can very much relate to that. So right here at Galaxy 107 FM, here is Isaiah B Brunt and Whispers in My Head.
Hi Ruben, Karaha. Hi Steve from Nichols Lights.
Hey, it's Steve. Welcome back.
Hi Bruce.
Jesus, it's hot up here. Are you okay there, my friend? Do you need a water or...?
Yeah.
He lives in Australia. He's most probably got air conditioning, unlike us here in Kiwi land.
Absolutely. Tell you what, I have got the sweat rolling this morning. It is absolutely stifling up here. It really is.
It is.
Absolutely.
I'm thinking cool though.
I'm very excited about this Voodoo Blues tour that we're going to be getting into. And believe me, this is very, very cool to have somebody of this calibre coming to New Zealand and doing a tour. And, I think we're going to be catching up with Isaiah in Rotorua.
There we are.
Right?
Princess Gate.
Princess Gate in Rotorua. Screens and screens of stuff, and literally here's the tour written down, and I'm not going to read them all out, but there's some really, really interesting
So it's January,
places.
February, March.
Yeah, and of course, not only Princess Gate and Rotorua, but Isaiah's going to Tauranga as well, to Totara Street. Brilliant venue. It really, really is.
Hi, Mike Girl. Mike says, I grew up on blues. This is the real deal.
This is the real deal.
Okay,
we got the real
where
man
did Isaiah
here.
go? We can see half of him.
Yeah, Isaiah, can we just get you? There you go. Look at that. Nice.
That's better.
There,
cool.
Yeah, much better. Are you comfortable?
Hey, we're not on air yet, are we?
No.
We're on Facebook
yet.
Live though, still.
Do you guys know a singer out of Wakatani, a female blues singer out of Wakatani? What's her name?
Not Phoenix.
Is she a young blues singer? Well, youngish. And she goes up to Auckland.
Quite a bit, yeah.
I was
I
put
think...
on to, well,
It's mostly
one of the ladies at the Auckland Blues Club, Julie Hunt.
Ah, yeah, absolutely, we know, yeah. No? Okay. Let's go back to the desk anyway, and we'll talk about it in the next break.
Okay.
Yeah. I think he's talking about Fee.
Yeah, because that's the only one I can think of Wakatani is Phoenix. With Robert Gillies.
I can hear her sweet voice singing my head. It's possible she's casting a spell in the air.
That was just not supposed to happen. It really, really wasn't. We'll bring that back up very, very shortly. Let's see if we can find it. Wow. Really, really strange thing to happen, wasn't it, Barb?
It is.
It really never happens, but, well, okay. From time to time, the production team throws something in just to throw us off, and now Dad, I think was the name of the song. Yes, it was. There we go. Sorry about that, Isaiah. We got thrown there very, very quickly. It started going into the next song rather than playing the station ID like you were supposed to. Now, at the same time, Isaiah, I got to congratulate you. We've got people online right now that are saying, you know, people like Mike Gill, very, very famous person in his own right, and high respects to Mike. He's saying, you know, I was brought up on blues. This is the real deal. He's recognising you as the superstar that you really, really are, my friend. And we are very, very excited to tell everybody that you're coming here to New Zealand March and April, and you're just going to be touring your butt off, really. You're going to be working hard here in New Zealand. But you've also got a couple of Kiwis with you, which we recommend. And I've got to give a big shout out, of course, to Bruce Aitken. Now, we've been following Bruce for a number of years as well. And I think one of our staff members here is related somewhere down the track as well. But tell us about these two particular Kiwis that you're going to be playing with.
Well, Bruce is definitely coming. Bruce is the drummer, and Bruce has played with you know, some blues guys in Canada as well. So he's got that whole feel that you know, you want behind you. Mark is also from Wellington. Well, he's from Wellington. Mark's doing the South Island tour that we start tomorrow, or we head out to tomorrow. Although on the North Island tour, Mark's unavailable for that one, and I'm bringing a young bass player that went to the con when I first met him, and you know, gave him a couple of gigs, and then hadn't seen him for about 4, you know, off and on. But he played with a lot of great jazz guys here in Australia and has become, you know, the young guy that you would get to replace a lot of experienced guys, because he can really play, and that's what you need, you know.
Exactly.
Replacement. So he's coming back when, yeah.
Exactly, and at the same time, always nice to have somebody in the backup to be able to fill the shoes and know exactly the work that you're performing at the time. Just to have somebody like that handy is absolutely priceless, I've got to be honest with you. Now, I gather we're going to be catching up. What are you trying to show me, Barbara?
He's doing January too.
January as well?
Yeah.
Very, very busy. Well. Yeah, because he was just saying he's going to be heading out to the South Island tomorrow. Whereabouts are you right now, my friend?
In Sydney, Australia.
So you're hopping on the plane pretty much over the next couple of hours and heading over here?
That's right, yeah. Yeah.
Well, you know,
heading to Christchurch for our first gig on Thursday night.
That's cool. It really, really is cool. And I'm really, really happy that you've taken time out of your day to be able to talk to us here in New Zealand, because believe me, we're very, very elated to have you. At the same time, I think somebody gave me a whisper not so long ago that we're going to be catching up in Rotorua. It's going to be an absolute pleasure to meet you in person.
Well, we're looking forward to it. That's going to be up at Princess Gate. I've never played there before, but I hear it's a pretty famous gig from, you know, an established old building, and you know, a lot of New Zealand artists have gone through there, who are people like John Rolls, and I think there's a classical singer whose parents used to own the place.
Possibly. I think you might be right, actually. I really, really do. Yes, there has been an immense amount of history to the building. It really, really has. You mentioned John Rolls. Sir John Rolls now, by the way. He was up here just a few weeks ago having a chat to me. Funny story about that, and I've got to let you know. We were off in Rotorua setting up for another gig, and we came back all happy. Everything was hunky-dory. The show was all going ahead. We managed to be able to book in the equipment. We own our own equipment and stuff like that. We got it all set up, came back to the studio, and the wife comes up to me and she goes, John Rolls has been looking for you. And I went, no, there's no way John Rolls, because he comes from this town here. He was brought up here. He really does. In Komodo, yes. And I said, no, there is absolutely no way John Rolls is looking for me. I don't have Knights of the Realm knocking on my door. I really don't. So I left it for a wee while, and then I went downtown, had a little wander around downtown, and one of the shopkeepers that is close to our radio station said, Grant, John Rolls has been looking for you. I went, nah, no, it can't be. You're pulling my leg. You've been getting on with my wife. This is a joke, right? She goes, no, seriously, he goes. So, okay, I come back up here, and the phone goes off. And apparently, for the last 3 days, Sir John Rolls has been banging on my door, saying, why can't I get into this radio station? Well, okay. He rings me up, and I actually thought it was a friend of mine playing a joke on me. He sounded identical, you know. He's like, Grant, this is John Rolls. Why aren't you answering your door? And I went, come on, stop pulling my leg. You know, this is not John Rolls. And he goes, yes, it is, Grant, and I'm at your front door right now. So I went downstairs. What do you know? Here is Sir John Rolls brandishing a CD saying, I've been trying to get hold of you for days. So believe me, it is an absolute pleasure to be able to mix with people like Sir John Rolls coming from here. And I think, you know, it'll be an absolute pleasure to be able to meet you in Rotorua. And believe me, I'm going to be fascinated in your sound and all your music, because believe me, I'm a big fan. I really, really am. Looking forward to it. I really am. But at the same time, you're going to be in Totra Street in Tauranga as well. You're giving the Bay of Plenty a fair shot.
That's right, Totra Street. That place was referred to me by a friend who her husband's a blues artist there, Sally Garner.
Oh, we know Sally.
Yeah,
Mike Garner's.
Yeah, we know Sally.
Yeah, we know both Mike and Sally. Well, I got to be honest with you. Even though I haven't been to the Blues Club as often as I should be, I think I'm still a member. I really do. But we do go and participate. We know Sally Garner, and what a wonderful lady she is. She really, really works tirelessly, especially for Mike. She's not prejudiced. She works first and foremost for Mike. But she mixes and mingles with some of the best blues players in the country, including, I think, Gary Harvey. She knows him very, very well as well. This is a guy that I've toured with myself over the years. We've done a couple of shows together. And one, would you believe, was in a pouring down, it was an absolute typhoon in the middle of a paddock, in the middle of Te Awamutu, on the back of a truck. It was absolutely fantastic. 5,000 people absolutely just stayed there to watch Gary Harvey play, and I would love to be able to introduce you to this man, because he is a legend in New Zealand when it comes to blues, and believe me, I think you guys will get on very, very well. At the same time, my friend, I know that you're going to be doing this extensive tour, but we do a thing here in New Zealand a little bit crazy. Are you up for doing a few crazy things while you're here in New Zealand?
Being a Kiwi, he should.
Well, it depends what you're talking about, Grant.
Okay.
If I can't do it, Bruce.
He'd be used to
Put
it.
Bruce in straight away, because believe me, we would be honoured to be able to participate with Bruce in doing this one. But at the same time, you being a Kiwi, yeah, kind of, you've spent 30 odd years in Australia, but you were born here on the North Shore in Auckland. Absolutely fascinated about that.
That's right.
You know, I used to work for Radio Hauraki and lived in the North Shore myself in Glenfield, so always nice to be able to have somebody that's a hometown boy that I can relate to, if you know what I mean. Now, I'm just wondering, do you remember what a hoo-hoo grub is?
That's a high-protein bug, yeah.
It really is. It's like it's like a caterpillar.
Normally lives in trees or bark, is that right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like a caterpillar on steroids. It's big, it's white, it's got a black head. And of course, when you put the live body in your mouth, and you bite off the head. Don't eat the head, it's yucky. But when you put the live body in your mouth and you crunch down on that, it's like eating creamy peanut butter. And I tell a lot of people from overseas that we bring into the country and play for us at Galaxy and Aurora Entertainments through Barbara is the manager of that, that we do these crazy things because it gives you a little bit of Kiwi culture, if you know what I mean.
You can tell them all about it.
People usually screw their faces and everything like that. I was talking to one young lady the other day who screws her face up. She drinks tequila and hates to eat the white worm. I'm going, no, that's the best part of the whole drink is the white worm at the end. You got to be able to claim that one right from the start. First drink down, that's mine. You know what I mean? So we love to do crazy stuff like this. But you're going down the bottom of the South Island. Are you planning on going anywhere near Queenstown? I couldn't find that.
Yes.
Is it?
Yes,
there is one there.
Queenstown.
Why not drop on by and jump off a bridge?
Oh, the bungee jumping, is that what you're talking about? Yeah, well, Queenstown is looking to be a very interesting place. There's we're playing at a place called Yonder in Queenstown, and apparently we're first slotted in to play at 4 p.m. in the afternoon because it's a Sunday. But apparently they've got so much interest, they're putting us on at 8:30 at night.
Yeah, that's more like it.
Because they have an international audience down there, apparently.
Yeah, absolutely they do. It's become an absolute haven for tourists down there, and believe me, you can get $1 million view down there for about $350,000, $400,000 right now. But the properties that you're going to get is, little ticky-tacky boxes, to be quite honest with you. But it has become quite a feature here in New Zealand, especially for the South Island. It's always nice to have other people's money come into the country one way or another. And yes, I was talking about bungee jumping with AJ Hackett and the boys down there. They love to throw people off bridges anytime. And I suggest maybe if you're going to be in Queenstown, participate, have a go. Challenge yourself.
And you, Bruce.
That sounds good. I think I will take up your challenge, Grant, and I'll be happy to push Bruce off that bridge with or without the bungee rope.
Yeah, well, no.
I mean, with...
he's a Kiwi. Attach the bungee, please. We want him to be safe. We really do. But it's some of the crazy stuff that we do here, and we are happy that you're going to come to New Zealand and be a part of what we do. And of course, I am looking forward to meeting up with you in Rotorua, which is indigenous. It is a Maori tourist attraction of the town itself, and believe me, if you're going to be in Rotorua, maybe you might want to go along to Devil's Gate, have a look at that, and see how the people used to cook food back in the day, potatoes and the old the hot pools and everything like that. It's amazing how they can cook food and these things, eggs and everything like that. Absolutely recommend that you have a look at that. Anything that you're looking at doing besides that while you're here?
Well, talking about Rotorua, I brought my wife and we had small kids then the first time to New Zealand, so we went into Rotorua to look at the whole, cultural tourism side of things, and it was the most fantastic thing. She loved it, and we were driving down, coming over that hill there from Auckland. You come over there. Anyway, so I pulled the trick on her that you do when you go to Rotorua, and I wound the window down, and I said, "Do you smell that? We're in Rotorua now." And she said, "Why don't you go straight back up now?" But that was when there was only one. We stayed at the Novotel, and that was the only hotel there at that time. It was over 15 years ago.
Is that the one?
Now when I played a festival, there was Eat Street, the whole. It's gone ahead big time, Rotorua.
It really, really has, and believe me, being a geyser town, and literally there's mud puddles popping up everywhere, and bores and everything like that. Absolutely fascinating place, it really was. When I first came to Rotorua, and I got to be honest with you, I spent many, many years in Auckland, but I was brought up on the west coast of the South Island. I'm a coal miner's son by trade.
Oh.
Yeah, my father was a shot firer, crazy guy. He used to blow stuff up for a living down the coal mines, and believe me, I saw all the coal dust and everything in his lungs. It absolutely killed him at the end of the day. It really, really did. And I thought, that's not for me. I'm going to go and do something really, really safe. So I'm going to use my voice and talk to people for a living. And so I moved to Dunedin. I did my time down at Otago University, and then got shipped up to Auckland to go and work for Radio Hauraki back in the day. But when I left Auckland and came down this way, because we were planning on moving into Komodo, we spent a night in Rotorua where there was a motel there. Had its own geyser. You could sit there, literally in the lounge or in the bedroom if you want, open up the doors, and believe me, it was very brave to open up the doors, especially with that sulphuric smell that you were talking about what you did with your wife. And watch the geysers going off. Absolutely stunning. It really, really was. And that was my first introduction into what the land used to be like. Back when the dinosaurs walked around, when we had mowers as big as your ostriches and bigger, if you know what I mean. Now,
White birds, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I'm kind of recommending, if you're going to be in Rotorua, go out and have a look at Devil's Gate. You'll absolutely love it. It'll take you back in the day. It really, really will. And it also gives you that immersion of the cultures that we have here in New Zealand. And we respect our Indigenous folks here in New Zealand. Of course, being in Komodo, it is primal for our Indigenous folks here. So we work hand in hand with all cultures. We really, really do. And try and speak a bit of te reo at the same time, which is the Maori word for Maori language. And we try to get those words out around the world. You should have heard me trying to talk to one young lady coming out of America the other day, trying to get her to say whakapapa. That was crazy. She goes, "You can't say that on radio, can you?"
Because everyone knows that. New Zealand
and Whakatane. Now, it's nice that we were talking about a young lady coming out of Whakatane. You got that word right. Absolutely stunning. So you still remember how to be able to pronounce some of the Maori names of the towns and cities around here.
Well, that's because I was there at the Tauranga Jazz Festival last year as one of their guests. Because I've lived there so long, first of all, the accent puts people into the idea that you sound like an Aussie anyway, and then the H thing, you forget about all that stuff, and you from what you heard when you're younger, and you just say what you normally would say here when you see a word. And I remember meeting Tim Finn at the Dome in Gisborne while we were setting up, and he kind of looked at me when I said, I was originally born here, and he kind of looked at me sideways, and I said, but my New Zealand is no good. I'm learning to pick it up again. So he just smiled, and he recognised that I hadn't been around the lingo and the culture for a long time.
It's an absolute it's an absolute pleasure. It's a wonder actually that Tim didn't say more, because he's very, very passionate about using the correct te reo, if you know what I mean. He really, really is. Old mate from back in the day, to be quite honest with you. I met him with Jordan Luck way back in the day. Jordan introduced me to him originally, so believe it. And Jordan was from the band Exponents, if you remember, back in the day. And
Dance Exponents, yeah.
Yeah, the Dance Exponents. And I got a few stories I could tell you about him, and also Karen, his wife. Believe me, wonderful, wonderful people. They really, really are. Now, at the same time, I want to talk to you about the Voodoo Blues tour in New Zealand. And believe me, I found out that you're only just flying over later on today or tomorrow to arrive in Christchurch. But this is extensive. It is absolutely extensive. Who did all your bookings for you?
Well, that would be me. and I did a lot of organisational administration for the studio when I was running a big studio. So we had international artists coming in. We had, the cream of the crop here in Australia. Even Neil Finn came through with Crowded House in his band, and they rehearsed in one of the rooms. So we would have, you mentioned James Rain before, he came in. People like Jimmy Barnes, you mentioned. Jimmy's a funny guy, he's a funny guy. And a lot of up-and-coming younger bands that later on went on to become really, really popular here. So we started getting a name with, touring acts coming through. So Vanessa May, a violin player, classical player, Julio Iglesias orchestra, met Julio. He had about 1,000 women backstage giving him roses. All beautiful ladies, and ladies were throwing things at him from the front row that looked quite intimate garments to me.
Yeah, but if they stick to the wall, you don't want them.
And then I got a phone call from is it Warner Brothers Studios, and they said first of all, one of the roadies came in for an artist, and he wouldn't say who it was. Anyway, I got a call, and I sent one of the guys down because we had a 1-ton lift, and that was one of the things about the studio. It had those, the 2 half doors that go up, like the old New York.
The old dumbwaiter kind of thing,
you get like you could fit a band in them. So we had one of those studios on the 3rd floor. So, Keanu Reeves came in himself to book for recording his band while he was here filming Matrix 1 and Matrix 2. So that kind of tells you what sort of guy Keanu was. Very humble, very nice, came in to book his own gig and loved music, played bass with passion, so they wanted me to come on tour with them, and I organised a lot of their stuff in Sydney, and and went around with them and recorded all his demos for a potential album while they were here. So he was a very nice guy, and I learned really quickly that a lot of different artists, Randy Jackson from American Idol, same thing. They kind of all have their hands in what happens with their careers, if you know what I mean. And as you know, the blues scenario in the scene is it's more or less like a cottage industry where you are, but it's so connected to the massive network out there. So you basically just have to get onto the network that's happening in each country. Like New Zealand has, I've come to experience the network of blues clubs that are around are amazing. And I was talking to a couple of people over the last few days in Whanganui, the John Keating from the Musicians Club, where we're having a blues festival there as part of the tour that I'm doing. They're calling it the Blues Mad Festival, the 16th of March. In Gisborne, the Poverty Bay Blues Club hosting me at the Dome, and very, very, very nice people. Great to get with. Up in Auckland now, we've got they've had different changes. They've got the Jazz Blues Club. They've got the Blues Club. Bay of Plenty has a blues club. I first came down to when I first started touring in 2011 in New Zealand. Or was it the second time? Maybe 2013. They have a pretty extensive, amount of people that go along. The South Island, the Musicians Club in Invercargill, and Christchurch, where we land on Thursday, they've got a pretty big blues following. So we're trying to use different artists in the different areas that represent that area for blues, and and try and expose some of the talent that we're going to be meeting as we go through. And I think you've mentioned a few names there that sound like they're very very good and popular as well.
Absolutely. Now, I was looking at the schedule, and the reason why I asked you who absolutely booked these, very, very tight. I mean, almost every night you're working. This is hard work, my friend, and wow, that's a very, very impressive list of venues and places that you're going to be at. And I'll just show the people on Facebook exactly what I'm talking about. Every night. It's crazy. That's a lot of work, my friend. Now, just talking about people in the blues associations around the New Zealand and Australia, just wondering if you would know of a guy called Moondog Blues.
I've heard of him, and I was Bruce knows him. He's from West Australia originally. I heard of him, in Canberra.
Okay.
And I heard of him when I did a festival in West Australia. And believe it or not, I heard of him when I went to Chicago a couple of years ago, and my friend, a producer there who worked with, guys from Howling Wolf's band and Pine Top Perkins. He won a Grammy with Pine Top. Michael said, there's a guy from Australia called Moondog. Have you heard of him? And I said, I've heard of him, but I haven't seen him. And he goes, because he keeps playing at the busking tent in Chicago. And I said, well, if he keeps playing at the busking tent in Chicago, that means he's really keen to play. And I've heard of him. So that gave him a spot on one of the small stages for that year that I was there.
Okay, he's like a brother-in-law to me, to be very honest with you. He grew up with my wife's brothers from Whangarei, my friend. That's where he originally comes from.
That's a different Moondog. Sorry, that's a different Moondog. There's a Moondog in West Australia with the same name.
Right. Well, he's a big blues fan himself. He makes actually Ellingtons, and absolutely fascinated how he does that. They sound absolutely superb. And we gave a couple away here at Galaxy when we brought them here to Kodo to do a show. So talking about doing giveaways and everything like that, just wondering, while you're going to be here in New Zealand, how would you like to slip us a few CDs that we could give away on the radio station here to be able to pass out to some fans? I know would absolutely be elated to pick up any CDs if you've got anything like that, or maybe a couple of T-shirts, something like that, to be able to keep Isaiah B Brunt playing here at Galaxy. We would love to be able to do a promo for you. Would you be interested in something like that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, that's fine. Yes, and CDs and some other memorabilia if you like.
Would love that, my friend. Really would, because we absolutely love your music down here in Komodo, and would love to be able to keep all of our fans, and believe me, we give away stuff all the time, and they absolutely love to get a hold of their artists, send photos even, would you believe, and received your CD and T-shirt and stuff like that at the same time. How would you like to pass a couple of T-shirts or something like that on to myself and a couple of the staff members here that we can promote you? Now, subliminally, normally I'm wearing some other band's T-shirt, but today I was told I had to wear a staff uniform because we were doing something over the weekend which was about anti-P or anti-methamphetamine here in our town. We kind of feel that it's getting out of hand, but not only here in New Zealand, but up and down the country. So we want to do something about that and try and raise awareness. It's not about eradicating the drug or anything like that. It's more about awareness and what it can and can't do for you, if you know what I mean. And I was fascinated with a couple of three girls that came up here and literally told me their life stories on this particular drug. And COP had nothing to do with it. I had no idea what this does. So over the weekend they had a hikoi, if you remember what that word is. It's basically a march here in town, and a bit of a korero, or a chat over at the park, where we supplied a sound system and everything like that for them to be able to do so. And so subliminally, every time I put on a t-shirt, everybody on Facebook or something like that has a look and goes, oh, I wonder who that is. I'm going to have a look anyway while they're listening to the interview going on. So if you can pass this on a t-shirt, I'd be very honoured to wear while I'm doing interviews. Now, let's get on to the music, because believe me, this is the second most requested song for you, my friend, and we get a lot of requests for this particular song, just the way that it goes. Now, tell me all about it. Where did you come up with the lyrics for that?
It's a life experience story. We play that normally as the last song. So you might hear me say something like, if I look out to the audience and I see some more mature fans out there or people that have come along, I said, well, this is a story about a journey, and some of us have been on that journey, some of us are still on the journey, and whenever there's younger audience there, I say, and some are starting out on the journey, but it's about a life experience from beginning to end, and in there there's a line that talks about, coming across a funny looking man on the street, and then he promises them he can help them with their dreams, and he opens up his jacket and in it is a bag full of leaves, and I remember doing a gig, and a couple of guys up the front knew the song, and so when I said, he showed them a handful of leaves. They go, "That's weed, mate," So he got the funny side, and it was, like some guy who was just, I don't know if you saw a movie called The Fisher King back in the day. It was about, a homeless guy that he had a lot of drug dependent kind of background, and that's that part, where you start out as a young man or young lady, and you're pretty much, you're looking for experiences in life, and someone tells you, I know how to, I know the gateway to King Arthur's realm, blah, 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 and it's just here in this glass. Do you want to drink it, It's sort of that scenario. And then at the end, it's like the guy has been around having a drink, thinking of the back in the day, like you and I will be able to relate to that, Grant. And it's like the line in it is, it's like a voice in the wind that doesn't go away. It's a memory. So it's experiences that we come across. I know it's starting to sound a bit deep, but that's my landscape on creating that song.
I've got to be honest with you, my friend. I absolutely love this track. I really, really do. It was the first track that I ever heard of yours, and it was the first track that I put down on a USB where I could take it home and actually have a good listen to it. So believe me, I absolutely love this particular track. Here is Isaiah B Brunt and that, just the way that it goes.
No glasses on.
Wow, it's hot, Barbara.
Yeah, it's 34 degrees, everyone, on Facebook.
34 degrees. That's
live. Yeah, it's the hottest
ridiculous.
it's been for years.
It's ridiculous. Here, Barb, you're sweating.
Yeah, I faint too if I get too hot.
Yeah. So you were saying about this young lady out of
Hi,
Pakistani, my friend.
I can't remember her name, but she's been referred to me by the Auckland Blues Club, and apparently she lives in Whakatane, and
Phoebe.
She's. It sounds to me like she's an up and coming artist. You know.
Okay.
So she is going to. They're proposing. Because I asked for asked them if they had anyone who might be able to do the support for one of the Auckland shows. Because I know a couple of other people that are going to be making cameo appearances. So there's a friend of mine who's a good friend of the family that you guys might have heard of, who lives in Auckland, and he's a young guy who used to play guitar, and when he came over here with my brother a few years ago, he, we got to get together and have a jam, and he's was the statistician for Emirates Team New Zealand for a long time, a guy by the name of Ray Davies.
Okay. Okay, yep.
And he's part of the coaching crew for the defence in 221. So Ray's going to come along and have a bit of a dabble. I've got a couple of other people. Some brass players turning up in Auckland. Edwina Thorne, she's a jazz player that I met at a festival in the islands
we know
last
Edwina.
year.
Yeah, we know Edwina.
Jazz festival.
You're going to be down in Christchurch. You're going to be down in Christchurch over the next couple of days. Would you mind if I got a friend of mine from Christchurch who is a huge blues star in his own right to give you a call?
Sure.
Yeah, young Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan,
sure.
yeah. I'll send you after. His name's Ryan Neville.
His name is Ryan Neville, and Barbara will send you some of his music and details and stuff like that. If you feel that you would like to meet up with him, I'm sure he would be honoured to meet somebody of your calibre, bro. Sure.
We've got a guy from, I'm pretty sure he's from Christchurch, who was going to do the support, but he is already on the tour in South down there, so we're hooking up with him in Invercargill that he's going to support us at the Musicians Club.
Nice.
A guy by the name of Little Chuck.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not sure if you heard.
Yeah, we've heard about Little Chuck.
One-man band, skiffle band.
Yeah. Believe me.
I like that sort of style that he does. It's like that old time, the one-man bands they used to have in the 40s and the American. One of my early style blues artists that I used to listen to was a guy called Dr. Isaiah Ross.
Right.
Because of the name, I was attracted to Dr. Isaiah Ross. And he was a one-man band. Used to play the kick drum, acoustic guitar, had an unusual picking style. And I think if you go back to the 60s, one-man band was a huge thing in England because of the American Folk Festival guys that went over in the 60s. Like Muddy Waters, Buddy Guy, Skip James, Willie Dixon, Big Mama Thornton, you name it, Edwina Thorne, Edwina,
Howling Wolf.
Howling Wolf, Lonnie Johnson. Lonnie Johnson. Lonnie Johnson was a recording artist.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They were the cream of the crop, those guys at the time.
Exactly. So we'll go back to the desk.
So
we'll talk about The River Runs High, because believe me, bro, that's my favourite song, and believe me, you get huge requests for that particular song, especially when I come into work on a Wednesday morning. I see that the blues is played on Tuesday nights, and everybody wants to play it again. So believe me, you get a lot of requests for that particular track.
Tonight.
But at the same time, I'm going to talk a little bit about your musical history, your background yourself, how old you were when you first started, and of course about your father. He was a big influence to you. So let's go back to the desk and we'll have a chat about that. That's right, you're right here at Galaxy 107 FM, 9 after 12 o'clock and 32 degrees. We're going down a couple actually, but believe me, I think we're going to get right back up very, very shortly. It is Tuesday, January 29th, and speaking to Isaiah B Brunt coming out of Sydney at the moment, and believe me, Isaiah, absolutely love that track, just the way that it comes. Now, at the same time, I want to ask you, my friend, a little bit about your history as an artist itself. How old were you when you first decided that you wanted to be an artist? And is there somebody in the family, maybe like your father, was he a huge influence to your music style today?
Well, yes, definitely. I mean, he taught me how to play guitar. He taught me how to play ukulele, and he had a lap steel, which was a custom-made New Zealand lap steel that I've still been trying to track the maker down, because it's probably about 60 years old, you know. It was one of the original ones. I don't know if you remember. Not too many people remember the inputs were screw-ins, you know. There was no phono jacks in those days, and so this had a very unique flat face screw-in, like a little round plug, and had like a little tip on it, so it would screw in. And the other end, I got it converted later by a guy here in Sydney when my father gave it to me later on after I convinced him that I was going to use it for a recording, which I did, and I ended up using it for recording on the last album, A Moment in Time in New Orleans. And I've got to tell you, an instrument that old doesn't look out of place in New Orleans even today. It's you can go there and you'll still hear the local music. You know, there's no commercial stuff going on there. It's all local artists, because there was such a big mix of people there from French, you know, British, German. It used to be a French colony until Napoleon signed it over to the Americans, you know. So
absolutely,
New Orleans has still got that flavour with its music. It's amazing.
I know exactly what you mean about old instruments being very, very comfortable in New Orleans, believe me. Nobody pays any attention to me in Bourbon Street at all. And I've spoken many times to Paul Schaefer about the history of the French there in New Orleans, and believe me, I've had my gumbo and everything like that, so believe me, I know all about New Orleans. I've spent a bit of time there. I really, really have. One of my favourite cities in America, I've got to be honest with you, I really, really do. But I feel sorry for those guys that go out shrimping out there. Believe me, when they get out there and the lightning hits, my God, I wouldn't want to be on a boat out in the middle of nowhere trying to pick up a few bit of shrimp just to be able to put into the gumbos and stuff like that. But yes, an old instrument like me fits right in, right there.
That's right. It's quite timeless, the music, any of that music out there. So they really took to the style that I was doing, you know, and I met a lot of great people there. The second time I did an album there, I was kind of introduced to the who's who and the royalty of the music scene there with the Jazzology studio and the owners who own pretty much half the real estate down at the French Quarter.
Right.
I got onto the Crossroads Blues show there with Dennis, who basically is the guy with the blues club there in New Orleans. And you know, you go and do an interview on the radio show, there's like 10 guys waiting who are touring from all over America, and you know, you're in line, and you know, they treat you as a special guest coming from overseas. You tell them, you know, where you're from and where you're originally born and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, I normally say, well, I was born in New Zealand, and they go, oh, you know, and they kind of see New Zealand as one of those independent places, kind of like they were, if you know what I mean. You know.
Yes, I do.
Whereas Australia's the big commercial place. The big commercial place that everyone kind of really knows about. But the saxophone player played on the A Moment in Time album. He was, for the last 15 years of James Brown, he was the MD in James Brown's band. And he had toured New Zealand and Australia with James, and he loved New Zealand, you know. So a lot of the musicians down there, if they've come to New Zealand, they really love the place.
Yes.
So,
I got to be honest with you. I've spoken to huge amounts of artists around the world, and believe me, they absolutely do love New Zealand. But talking about New Orleans, while we're on that subject, you did a review for a magazine called Offbeat. Tell me about that.
Oh yeah. He got in touch with me through my my contact, my PR guy in California, and he was pretty tenacious because I was on a tour in Adelaide, and I was gigging every night, and then, as you know, in America, it's after your gig, they start waking up over there and doing their thing. So I did an interview with him at about 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning, you know, and as you know, when you played a gig and you've been touring, you've got to kind of pipe yourself up with a lot of coffees just to get to keep awake for those things. So I had to also send him some information about, you know, what we talked about the next day to follow it all up. And you know, like doing radio with you guys is easy, Grant. But talking to American stations at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning is like, I had one book with a UK station out of the UK once on the album that you first played, and I had it all set up, my alarm set up to wake up in the morning and do it. Slept right through the interview. I was dreaming I could hear a phone ringing. So I picked up the phone. Well, hello, who's this? You know, like when you're half asleep, and he goes, hi, it's, you know, da-da-da out of the UK, and here's Isaiah B Brunt, blah, blah, blah. And I think, and he goes, did we wake you? So, yeah, that's wake.
Yeah, believe me, I've had something similar happen to me, to be very honest with you. We were due to do an interview with somebody actually coming out of the Gold Coast, of all places, and Barbara rang him up and said, are you ready for your interview? And he goes, you just woke me up. And she goes, did we wake you up? He goes, yes, of course you did. I'm a bloody musician. So, yeah, I fully understand. I really do. Now, at the same time, I want to talk to you about what I think is my favourite song of yours, my friend, The River Runs High. Now, tell me all about this, because I absolutely love this track.
It's about, I don't know if you remember the flooding in Australia a couple of years ago, where cars were being washed down the river, and the rivers were all rising, all from throughout Queensland through to New South Wales, all the way down to Victoria. And, you know, it was pretty much on the news. You could see the rains, they were just like monsoon rains in areas that you probably didn't get the rain at all at different times for decades. So that comes from, you know, the rising rivers that were happening here at that particular time. You know, like there's danger there. Now, when I did the Crossroads radio show, he played that track too. He said, this is a very popular song here in New Orleans, and today we're going to call this, when he puts a song on, he goes, here's a song about the Mississippi. It's a Isaiah B Brunt, River Runs High, you know, bam. And then he puts the song on. And I thought, oh, well, you know, they've incorporated. So I've taken that in my live shows, and whenever I'm playing, you know, it might be the Waikato River or a river that's close to where I'm playing. So I adopt that whole thing. Nice.
And when you're down the South Island, you'll be able to do something maybe about the Kowada River down there, if you know what I mean. Go on the river jet. Go and have a try of that. Absolutely. Put that in there. And say that a Galaxy DJ recommended it, because believe me, I do. Go and experience some of the South Island while you're down there. Please don't work too hard, because I'm looking at your schedule and I'm thinking that is absolutely butt-busting, to be honest with you. I might do a couple less than that if I was doing a tour myself, if you know what I mean, which shows to me that you're not only a dedicated artist, but you're a hard worker at it at the same time. So, without further ado, Isaiah, we're going to play this. It is Isaiah B Brunt and The River Runs High here at Galaxy.
Up to 34 again.
Back to 34.
Hi Bruce, you came back.
Bruce.
Hi Q Ray, hi Cheryl. Hi Ian, hi Angel, sweetie. Enjoyed
Isaiah, I'm really looking forward to meeting you in Rotorua. I really, really am. Is there a chance that we could maybe get a couple of double tickets that we could give away for some of the listeners here in the Bay of Plenty, that they could come along?
It's actually been handled by the Princess Gate themselves. Now, I don't know how they're doing. Well, I'm not 100% sure because we're just getting a guarantee on that. But they do it as a show and dinner kind of thing.
Okay.
So I'd have to talk to them about, I'm pretty sure you can get in if you book a table. The tickets themselves, they're handling them directly with bookings, but I'm pretty sure if I can say if you guys are going to be guests, that'll make you two guests. I might be able to give away some merchandise and some CDs to maybe someone on your show, if that's an idea.
That would be great. In fact, I want to actually get you back before you do the show. We would need about 3 tickets. It would be one for myself, one for Barbara, and one for my wife, because she's the other management here, if you know what I mean. So it'll be the 3 of us that would turn up. But I would like to be able to get you back and do a giveaway of some product or something like that, because believe me, we want to get right behind you and what you're doing here in New Zealand. We really, really do. We love your style of music and love what you do. So we're right there with you, my friend. We're going to have to wrap it up after this, but don't go anywhere just yet, because what we'll do is we'll get you to do a very short video that we put on our website. Now, believe me, with the amount of people that go to our website to hook into our live streaming, they don't just listen to the music, they get nosy and go and have a look around. So we'll put you into a shout outs as well, if you know what I mean. And with that, people go, oh, who's that? And go and oogle you. And before you know it, you've got a whole heap of new fan base coming up your way. And having said that, one young lady that we did an interview with, about 6 months ago.
November.
Yeah, we've done 2 with her now, haven't we? Taylor X, she's my hero actually. She's got her own cartoon character of all things, but she's a really, really poppy young rock star coming out of LA? No? New York.
Oh, wow.
New York, one of those.
No, she's from Nashville.
She's from Nashville?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, right, from Nashville, fair enough. We speak to so many artists, I get mixed up from time to time. She says to me one day, because I said to her about the database of the fan clubs and everything like that, and how they get hold of you on the internet, the multimedias and all that. She came back to Barbara a couple of days later and she said, Barbara, I've had like 900,000 new fan requests. Is that because of you guys? And Barbara went, you bloody vet, damn right it is. Be sure it is. So, be careful, you might have a few more fans coming your way. Anyway, let's go back to the desk. Was it about 900,000 or 9,000?
It might be 9,000.
9,000.
Yeah.
I love this.
Yeah.
I do. I forgot to do my own bloody microphone on. How's that? That is so involved
Not
here.
me.
Sorry, boss. Yep, okay. It happens from time to time. I get so involved in what I'm doing, I forget to do what I'm supposed to be doing, and that's turning a microphone on. Now, at the same time, the river runs high. We were talking about that and how much of a fave that is for me. I absolutely love that. Did you blow the harp on that yourself?
I actually got one of the guys in New Orleans to sit in on that. It was supposed to be Smokey Grenwell. Smokey's, he played with a band called War back in the 70s, and he's a local artist there. We ended up, Smokey was on tour, so we ended up using the bass player's friend for that, who was also a guitarist / harmonica player, and it worked out okay. But I do play on the live in a similar way with the Darth Vader brace. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, quite
thing
familiar.
that hangs around your neck.
Yeah. I'm quite partial to a sea harp myself, to be very honest with you, so I know what you're talking about with the Darth Vader thing. Now, at the same time, I also see that you're going to be in Raglan at the Bot Club. I'm not familiar with that place. Is that the pub there?
The Yacht Club, YOT in Raglan. Yeah, I've never played there before. It's the first time we're going to Raglan on that tour. So it's all new, but looking forward to the venue.
I tell you what, while you're in Raglan, let me recommend maybe a bit of surfing down there. I don't know whether you surf or not, but believe me, absolutely superb place.
Oh, yeah.
You go and have a bit of surf, if you know what I mean. And you never know, you might find a few blue stars drop on by and say hello to you too. I know of a couple of blue stars that live in Raglan, and they're always up for a good night out. Now, at the same time, we were talking about Princess Gate and Rotorua. Any idea what the ticket price is going to be for that?
You'd have to contact the Princess Gate themselves. I'm not. They're organising the whole ordeal, so not really sure. But it'll be a table show and some standing room kind of thing.
Right.
Dinner and show all in one kind of thing.
Right.
There is standing bar area, but I mean, I've never been there before. There's apparently, well, how we were talking before, it's a pretty famous venue. A couple of the local guys that I know down there were saying that the young classical singer, Kiwi classical singer, that she sang. Do you remember when the Beatles did a reissue years ago? Probably 10 years ago now. Over 10 years ago now. And they were at the top. Well, they were the top charts worldwide, but they were also in England top for 3 or 4 weeks or something. They were knocked off the charts by Vera Lynn. I don't know. Vera Lynn was saying "We'll Meet Again" back in the 40s, and a young Kiwi singer, what's her name? Her parents owned the Princess Gate. She was invited to sing on that anniversary with the Queen and Vera Lynn as a tribute.
Okay.
And then they had
Yeah, I'm not
at
actually...
Albert Hall.
Right. I'm not actually sure who we're talking about, but I'm sure that as soon as somebody mentions their name to me, I'll be able to give you an affirmative on that. But we're going to have to wrap it up here right now, my friend. It has been an absolute pleasure. I've actually taken an extra half an hour of your time than we should have. And I apologise for that, but I've absolutely loved every minute of it. I really, really have. And I am looking forward to meeting up with you in Rotorua, maybe even sneak over to Tauranga and have a yarn with you there as well, if I'm lucky enough, if the boss lets me. But in the meantime, I am going to have to wrap it up right now. I got to thank you for taking your time out this morning, because I know that it's going to be a hectic few hours for you getting from there over to New Zealand, down to Christchurch, and then you're into this huge tour. Of course, we're talking about the Voodoo Blues Tour here in New Zealand, and I wish you all the best with that, my friend. I know it's going to be absolutely an outstanding tour for you, and please pass love on to Bruce and to everybody else that's going to be performing with you, not only throughout the South Island but the North Island as well. Looking forward to meeting up with you, my friend. I really am. So until then, we'll hand it back to Studio 2 with Lou Vegas. You're right here at Galaxy.